Rick, I sent this to you last night when I saw it come across in the news that the Ayatollah Khamenei was welcoming the student protesters, the anti-Israel protesters on college campuses, to joining the branch of his, quote, resistance front, which actually refers to a loose alliance of Iran-backed terror groups and militias around the Middle East that seek to destroy Israel and kill American troops, including Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels, Islamic Resistance, Hamas, and others. And I mean, it was a number of tweets, but yet you would think that maybe these protesters would rethink what they were protesting for or who they were protesting for and what they were protesting against when they get this kind of public endorsement from Iran's Ayatollah.
Jordan, you find such interesting things on your Twitter feed. I hope people are following you. I love seeing what you find. And this was unbelievable when you sent it to me. I thought, oh my gosh, this guy is unbelievable. You've got the leader of the radical regime that systematically denies people their human rights, lecturing America on our system and encouraging students on college campuses to keep going because, as he says in one of those rants, that you're really part of the liberation fight. And if our college students in America and their parents can't see what's happening on these college campuses with some of these protesters, I think this tweet from Khamenei is a wake-up call. He loves what you're doing. And this is not something to be proud of. And it's something to immediately step back and say, what am I a part of?
I mean, this is someone, as I said in the tweet that you retweeted, Rick, I appreciate that. I mean, this is someone who is a murderer of religious minorities. I mean, we've had to fight to get people out there because of their faith. Women, if they don't have the right head covering on, or it's not, a little hair pokes out, they end up dead in prison. Of course, the LGBTQ community, they have no rights whatsoever. That it's a death penalty situation, and this is who endorses this radical movement that is preaching, from the river to the sea. And these statements that sometimes you don't even know what they're saying. But and again, I don't even know if they know who the Ayatollah is, half these protesters. But enough of the leadership, Rick, behind this does know, and it tells me more about who they are, that they do share those kind of anti-American beliefs, not just being anti-America because of support for Israel, but anti-freedom, anti-true liberty and freedom that we fight for in the United States.
One of the rants that you showed us was the Ayatollah saying to teachers on campuses that they are being noble, that they are helping the cause. And what I was struck with is that it's one thing to try to play a little psyop with young people and college students who are passionate about issues and don't always have all the information. But it's quite another to say to the adults in the room, the teachers, the people who are educating our young people, that they are the ones who are doing the good work. And so when the Ayatollah is complimenting tenured teachers on Ivy League campuses, we've got a problem in America. It's very scary. And one of the things that really makes me angry is the ability of this regime to just run over the rule of law. If you protested, if you took to the streets and you protested against your government in Iran, you were arrested, you were put forward into some sort of a judicial hearing. Some of those court cases lasted a total of 3 or 4 minutes. And these individuals were then sentenced to death for protesting. Now, they make up all sorts of things about them. They say they did, other crimes, but it's all phony. And we now are seeing Khamenei take it to the next level because he likes what's happening on our college campuses. This is a warning sign. Wake up, America.
I think we need to make sure that we understand that actually American media is very strong. And these protests actually get heard and seen all over the world. Because I think it's easy for us to almost not laugh them off, but to go, these are a bunch of kids, or this is whoever it is.
and people getting paid.
And people paid. This is no big deal. But you're having an impact where you have now world leaders. You have the Ayatollah going out there making these statements on X, and then in an open letter also published to the students, he brought up a lot of kind of traditional anti-Semitic tropes in it, and I'll read it to you. Again, this is the Ayatollah's words, not my words. The global Zionist elite, good start, who owns most of the U.S. and European media corporations or influences them by funding and bribery, has labeled this courageous, humane resistance movement as terrorism. Can one call people a terrorist nation for defending themselves on their own land against the crimes of the occupying Zionists? And is helping such a nation and strengthening it an act of terrorism? So, I mean, that is what's coming out of the Ayatollah, directly targeted at our students. So, again, they feel validated, but by someone who they certainly should not feel should be on their side.
Yeah, but Rick, this goes back to what you say, is that the fact is he's encouraged, and it's encouraging to the regime to see this kind of protest in America, and they're being honest about it. I mean, this kind of protest, like you said, could never happen there because the people would be shot at, sometimes from the streets, rounded up and executed. So it rarely happens. When it does, we hope it might lead to something bigger when people do come together there in large movements. But this is also a leader, let's remind everyone who's endorsing protests, who has okayed direct attacks on Israel from Iran. That's okayed direct attacks on U.S. troops that have killed U.S. troops. That supports the terror groups that led the October 7th attack on Israel, Hamas. I mean, this is one of the worst, most dangerous leaders in the world endorsing these student protests. And like you said, maybe it's time for these teachers who we know are educated and understand more about this issue to wake up.
Well, one of the things that I've thought that we should just do to our college students, university students in America, is let them know that they're on the wrong side of climate change, abortion, and gay rights, because they're advocating for people who don't believe in any of those things. And I think that's an argument that would work with them. I've seen some man on the street type interviews where they ask them about what they're protesting, and when they're confronted with the fact that those they're defending actually don't believe in climate change, the students are stunned. They can't believe that this is happening. Now, that's a failure of our education system. I'd like to know these university students who are so wrong and so in the dark, who trained them? Where are their parents? Because between their parents and their teachers and where they went to school, we have a failing system. And I'd like to see all of the individuals that trained some of these wacky people on our college campuses defending Hamas. I'd like to see who educated them. That's a problem.
It's kind of like it's the generations. It's a post like a 9/11 generation. Didn't really live through that.
No, they definitely did not. Most of them were not even born.
So right, not even born. So that's kind of history to them. So Islamic terror is not something that was like on their mind all of the time, but they have thrown it in as part of their. It is now part of their cause. It's like Rick said, they throw it in as part of the cause list, even though who they're supporting is certainly not throwing in those
would hate
causes.
them or would kill
would
them.
execute a lot of those. A lot of the protesters out there would be executed for what they wearing or not wearing, or their other views.
I saw the eyes on Rafah meme that's been going up around that everyone's been sharing, all of the celebrities and all of that. You've seen it over and over again. And of course, that has been shared, I think they said 25 times more than there are Jews on the earth. So think about it that way. Like that's been shared like 45 million times or something wild. So they don't really understand what they're doing. They see a nice, pretty graphic. And look, I have to say, as much as you want to, where you want to picture it, you have the Ayatollah reaching out to students in America. You have these graphic displays that are very compelling. You have video evidence that feels very compelling. Of course, you're only getting one side of the story. And it's not like we can't have a heart. You should have a heart. You should go into this not thinking that every political regime, just because of the flag, are good people or not. But we do have to clearly identify some right and wrong here.
Yeah. Rick, and I think that goes back to the issue is you can get to politics and say, I like this leader, don't like this leader, and that's fine to do. But there's also the reason why we're even having this discussion about what happens next in Rafah is because of what Hamas did. And Hamas did it because of the money that Iran had to fund Hamas.
And one of the things that I would build upon on that is that, we just came out of several years where dissenting voices on our college campuses, that wasn't welcome. we weren't welcome to have a debate. They were shutting down debate. They were canceling people that they disagreed with, especially conservatives. And so when you now see all of these pro-Hamas voices on our college campuses, and you combine that with the inability to have a calm debate, dissenting information presented, this is a crisis for our schools. And the university teachers, the tenured professors, and the administrators need to wake up. And parents also need to understand they've got power. Don't go to these schools if they're wacky.
Absolutely. Yeah. And understand what your kids are being taught, too. I mean, ask your kids about it so it's not too late.